Good afternoon, friends and family. Welcome to a very special episode. Oh, yeah, for some reason, there is a pretty large lag time, or not lag time, replay buffer. That's the professional term. Yeah, I have some stuff to show before. Do you see my logo, David? And you can hear me, I hope. Check, check, check. Because I just want to do the best live stream that I can because it's for the nature. I do it for the nature because I'm that kind of man. Oh, I miss playing music. It's because I have to sit far from my mic. But is that better now that I turned it up towards me? What's up, Neil? Thank you for joining. I can't wait to share a quick synopsis of my morning. For it's a perfect summary to my old life that I left behind a couple weeks ago. So, but it did me adjusting the microphone help. I am sitting a bit further away than I would normally like. Actually, I can fix that. Sorry about that, everybody. In order to get closer to the mic, I spilled my keyboard. Anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. So far, give a minute for some more folks to trickle in. I want to thank you all so much for being here. It means the world to me, literally. Um, and today has been such a learning experience. And I'm so grateful that there's people in my life like Mr. David Ott, well, hey, what's up, Mark? Oh, Mark, I'll be dropping that when I have to run an errand as soon as it's done. Um, yeah, I'm so thankful David and a few other people who helped me with this last minute situation. That is just the perfect. It's the whatever gremlin that has been attached to me. It's its last gasps because I woke up this morning and woke up at 8, knew that I had a very important thing to do ahead of me, and I figured out the workaround yesterday evening. I basically just had to custom do it. And thanks to 3 years of learning business skills, uh, oh, that's weird that you guys aren't seeing the actual video. You're just seeing my watermark. All right, I'm gonna skip ahead to that scene then. Sorry about that one, folks. I did put this together. Oh, there we go. Excellent. Yeah, David, I'm just transitioning through audio and clips. Trust me, this was meant to be a far more cinematic grand premiere. It was not meant to be, huh? But it was. And now, all right. No, it wasn't David. It was the fact that I did not have the mic on for um sorry, one second, let me take a drink. I didn't have the mic on as a scene in any of the movies. I forgot to add that at the end. So, welcome again, everybody. T3 here. It is really weird seeing myself in a delay in that screen over there, so I'm going to look at myself here. But I also want to, actually, I'll focus on the camera. Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to all who will be check this out later on. Um, it has been a great day for learning emergency management skills and all sorts of things. And like I was saying earlier, if you could sum up, a brief glimpse of what my old life that I chose to leave behind once and for all, not very long ago. I held on to it far longer than I should have. But, I've been working diligently for 9 days trying to make it so that you see a class of mine you like on my schedule page. You click the button that says register. You are presented with the option to choose your own amount, what you would like to pay for the class. And I'll explain why in a minute. And then you hit go, and then you are issued the Zoom links because none of my online classes are solely one episode, except for special events like this. Um, Everything is multi episodic, and they I'm dealing with three different companies who all don't seem to know about each other's product and how they integrate. And, also after days of trying to find people to help me beta test and poke buttons on my website, uh, I finally figured out that I basically have to custom put in, build a blank page, class description, photo, a register button that goes directly to my scheduling software's page. And that's the one where when you register, you sign up for every single session. It issues you Zoom links at certain intervals before, and all that good stuff to remove my number dyslexic brain from having to create my own schedule. Um, so yeah, finally figured it out. this morning and did had our first successful test. So when you check out, I had originally planned on this morning, waking up, doing my usual meditation, setting my intention for the day, always trying to live life from the place of the caretaker and an open state of Thanksgiving. And then I noticed some things are off as I was trying to configure something for OBS, and then everything just fell apart. Like the OBS wouldn't recognize YouTube, and I'm frantically texting, calling people. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. I woke David up from a nap, which I feel horrible about. Uh, but it yeah, I was gonna actually screen record the process for you. um I will. It's really self-explanatory and easy though. Yeah, but yeah, so I had all these plans to have time to do that, to tidy up a few things, like all of my typos that I perpetually have in everything. um I decided a while ago that I'm just going to write the way Thoreau did and use periods, commas, and exclamation points. Uh, and but no, yeah, just doing little things and going slow and being purposeful. That's one thing, is being slow and purposeful is part of my self care, because when I get rolling, I move, and yet natural movement and slowness is something I try to cultivate in every single one of my students. So what was supposed to be a nice relaxing morning leading into an easily run YouTube live stream. I actually looked in my journal just before. This is my 597th live uh, event I've done. Teaching event, we'll call it. You know, and all starting back with our buddy COVID. And at first, I will admit, I despised online teaching. I hated it because anybody in the room here or watching the recording, if you saw me at Tracker School, or took a class with me anywhere else I worked, I like to pace. I like to use my hands, um, and having to sit still. That was the most difficult thing at first. Is the audio and everything still sound good, David? Give a thumbs up if so. Um, so, taking a step back to a story I told a couple weeks ago. Can't remember if it was a blog post or a video about the real reason why uh, I left Tracker School in 2009. And the longest conversation I ever had with my father, like man to man, human conversation, it was about 3 hours long. And at the end of it, I expressed that I was sad to leave and terrified. Um, and he said, "Don't worry, son. You are going to reach far more people than I could have ever dreamed of." And I'm thinking, I'm 36 years old. By the time you were 36 years old, you had already written like 97 books. And, uh, you know, and then lo and behold, technology improves. Now, I'm a firm believer, as human beings, we are tool users. We've got these guys for a reason. And also combine the thumb with the meat computer. Um, we're able to create all sorts of awesome tools, including things like how we're communicating right now, the internet, computers. They're amazing things. They still do not hold anywhere near the um, amazement or rapture that something like this Obsidian biface hand axe does. A technology that our ancestors have been using for millions of years. Or any one of my fire kit over there with three different fire making methods in it and how ancient they are. But my father's statement started to make a little bit more sense once, we COVID happened and all of a sudden I was teaching online, as was everybody else who is an educator of any sort. In fact, my uncle is, I think, like the vice president of the International Online Educators Association for college level professors. Uh, and so it started to grow on me because I all of a sudden realized that, holy cow, I can teach, anywhere in the world. I can teach people, that are spread far and wide. The only thing that gets in the way are time zones, which I'm going to mention this now just in case I forget. Every single class that uh, so the rollout's going to go like this. I'm going to explain everything here today. Tomorrow, I'm attending a fire ceremony, and if I can get it done in time, the blog post with the kind of written explanation of the process will arrive as well. And then you'll be able to actually sign up for classes. uh, with each class that I put up. And for now, if you go to the classes page, there are three examples up. The first three classes, there's going to be a bunch more. In order to help hook my European family up, being that my most popular, meaning most attended class online that I've ran is currently running still is my German bone tools class online. Um, so I am going to, on a day I run a class, I'll run a morning session from 10 until noon for the Central European time zone, UTC ish area. And then later on that day from 4 to 6 p.m., I'll run a America version. Uh, so yeah, once again, I want to, I'm literally, when I do my meditations and I, do my temple exercises and I talk to trees and they tell me things like, uh, you know, don't charge, don't price yourself out anymore. Offer what you have to anybody who might need it so that it can better their lives and therefore better the lives of people around them. Um, I tend to listen to those voices. And while they have led me astray a few times, there were other things I now realized clouding my inner eye, so to speak, um, that were really blocking at me from looking at the situation from all angles. I often use the metaphor when I'm facing a problem or I'm trying to help somebody work through a problem. I go in, not to steal a Sherlock Holmes reference, but I go into my mind palace and I imagine the person's problem or my issue as an object, and I am in zero gravity, and I can literally float around it from all angles and see it from every point of view. And yeah, so I wanted to make sure that anybody, be they a person who's just getting into nature because, oh my goodness, they're starting to tell people that it's actually good to be outside and it's good for our health to spend time in nature. I think, as little as 5 minutes a day can improve your overall health and happiness by some ridiculous percentage. Not to mention the stuff with the natural movement that I'm so heavy on. I actually have a few orthopedists and orthopedic surgeons I know who have taken the movement principles that I teach back to their medical practices and have slashed their surgery rates, slashed their prescription addictive drug rate, opiates rates, simply by teaching people to walk differently and wear different shoes. One of the reasons that I told this story last night, so forgive if you heard, but one of my greatest moments, at least as a teacher, was the first in person class that I ran when we were allowed back to be around people at the COVID. And it was an awareness class. And of course, in an awareness class, the first things I teach are wide angle vision and the fox walk. And to teach people the fox walk, I always first talk about why and how, and I demonstrate why modern humans move the wrong way and how damaging it is to every single cell of their body. And then I show them a different way to move. And then I send people out for a half hour or so to, do the exercise. And about 15 minutes in, I'm, I think I was building the fire up because it was winter. One of the women in the class comes, like, she's making a beeline across, this big open space towards me. And as she's getting closer, I can see her face is all red and her eyes are red and her face is soaking wet. So the EMT in me instantly thinks she's having an anaphylaxis reaction to something. And this is, pre those things, whatever, getting the shots, vaccinations. She comes right up to me and she grabs me by the shoulders and she said, "Thank you so much. Thank you. For the first time in 15 years, I am not in pain with every single step I take." So, yes, our ancestors taught us a lot and still have a lot to teach us, especially as we move into this new, crazy, technologically based future. It saddens me. People's awareness was crap before smartphones. Now it's we won't even go there. And being that this is the first time I've spent a prolonged period of time in a non-rural area, um, the only thing I even enjoy whatsoever is watching people outside my window and watching how they move and act and interact with their environments. And I just want to I want to find a way to just give them all the answers so they wake up and the sparkle comes back. And that's part of what this diamond of oneness concept that is going to be one of the classes I'm going to be running. It's going to be 4 parts. And this is based off of, since my passions lie in awareness and tracking and movement, the hunter skills, or just learning how to listen to the land and what it's telling you. Um, Learning how to read that bass line and without thought match your movements to the ebb and flow of what's going on around you. My goal is to get people to slow down enough to where they notice the beauty and grandeur that's all around them. That's why I tell another story I tell is about where is that photo? Oh, I had a picture of an orb weaver spider that I took, and I spent a summer at a farmer's market selling photo prints, and it's this beautiful rainbow orb weaver. And this woman makes a beeline across the farmer's market and comes right, grabs a photo, and she's like, "Oh my God, did you were you in like the Amazon or Fiji, Papua New Guinea when you got this?" And I said, "No, I was about a mile and a half away from here." And she looks at me and like cocks her head like this, and she goes, "There are things that beautiful around here." And I didn't know if I wanted to laugh or cry or what. And I said, "There are things that beautiful everywhere, no matter where you are. You just need to learn to look small, to not always look at the ground in front of you. There's this whole wide world out there, you know." And the funny thing was, she abandoned her family, and I watched her for an hour go around all the garden beds that surrounded the lot the market was in, like looking through all the bushes and at the flowers. And to me, that's worth $1 million. One thing I've learned, one of the most important business skills I've learned in my efforts is that there are all manner of profit. You know, I'm big on work trade and things like that. And even though I still have that, actually, I'm going to be, I'll talk about the auctions in a little bit. I will be auctioning off that print next week, um, along with a bunch of others I had that need homes because I need to free up as much space of things that aren't absolutely necessary to the living of my life or the doing of my job. Because I don't have space for anything else. But yeah, moments like that are priceless. And my goal is to give that same gift that I gave to the woman when I showed her the fox walk, or the other woman when she found my photograph, and then have that spread from person to person to person. About 2 weeks ago, I went to get my mail at the UPS store because of where I used to live. There were Porch Pirate Central, and there was this woman struggling with this giant box, trying to get it out of the back of her truck. And she was just radiating like anger and, frustration. And so I actually went around the front of her truck and approached her from the front so as not to startle her. And I said, "Ma'am, can I get that for you?" And I grabbed the box and I carried it in and I went and checked my mailbox. And as we're carrying the box in together, I watched her face grow from this gray pallor and angry, steely eyes to color back in her face and the sparkle back in her eyes. And that is also priceless to me. And then she said something to me that four other people have said exactly word for word to me in the last 3.5 months. As I was walking out, she grabbed me by the arm and she thanks me and she said, thank you so much. I didn't think people like you existed in the world anymore. I've had 5 people say that to me in the last 2 months. All right, it should be the complete opposite. Imagine how much more we could do to help ourselves as individuals, to grow into communities, to realize the sacred gift of the earth is suffering because of our need for cheap plastic disposable goods, and that we need to start learning some lessons like killing each other over anything is ridiculous. um, like share natural resources, learn from the past so you don't repeat. And we just can't seem to get it right. So that's another reason why I fight. Maybe I'll be the one that will lead the one person who will eventually one day figure it all out. That's why Marcus Aurelius's book Meditations is one of my favorites and one of the only paper books I still have left because here's this guy 2,500 years ago writing in his diary things that should be, were apparent back then. And yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about pay what you will. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would T3, who, after teaching literally solidly without a vacation, very few days off for literally from 2009 until 2024 or 2023 and a half. Um, you know, and then I went into business for myself. Um, wasn't my plan. I was plenty happy, but it was an opportunity that was going to give me lots more free time. And that's one thing we can't get back is time. And I jumped at it. And once again, that one of those things that clouded the inner eye. And I lost everything I had, you know, diligently squirreled away for 20 years because it's one thing I learned from both of my parents is how not to manage money. Um, so yeah, I made that a point to work on right away once I was like really out on my own. And that and emotional intelligence. But so, you may ask why, when you're, about to lose everything, are you willing to let people take your public online programs for nothing if they so choose or they can't afford? That does not sound like a very sound business move. Reason number one, I have been barred from so many classes about business or a photography technique or anything, online classes that would have accelerated my growth, that would have perhaps prevented me from making certain mistakes, um, only to see a price tag that was so ridiculous. My friend recently took a program that was 9 sessions, 9 months long, with a pre-recorded video in between each session. Actually, I do my webinars the same way. Well, not the same way, but similar. But this woman had two sessions of 200 people at $3,000 a piece. And I listened to some of it, and it was the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard. And I just, I can't fathom how people do that. I'm like, what is your secret? I've got a really good friend who, makes a ridiculous amount of money for a private day to meditate with him. Not saying any words. Enough money I could live off of for a month for a single day. Even if I had people willing to give me that much. Um, and I used to charge, similar for my private in-person day classes. Now I wouldn't accept it, because I feel now more than ever that nature education, reconnecting or turning people into human beings, there's a distinct difference, believe it or not. And then helping that human being reach as high as they possibly can, to be a community that uplifts each other instead of steps on the shoulders of the one beneath you to make it one step higher. You know, as much as we obviously can't change the past, and I'm not even gonna mention anything specific, but you know, I have physical proof that people have done things, like create fake social media accounts and flag my posts about, my class schedule. And I think, how could somebody who ever took a class from my father or read one of any of his books ever do that to anybody, much less me? When I left Tracker in 2009, I started a school called the Primitive Arts Collective. It was just me. It was a cash only business because I was still collecting unemployment. Um, and I had a waiting list. I taught 2 weekends a month. Um, for context, the amount of debt I'm in right now, back then, I could have paid off in 2 weekends of class. In 3 years, I taught classes in 28 states. Everything from a postage stamp size backyard in Brooklyn to a $8,000 piece of wilderness, with a bunch of millionaires and billionaires, including some of the Madoff family, uh, in upstate New York. And then the business grew to the point where it had to become a business. And T3 doesn't like business. So I got offered an opportunity from me and my partner to gather two other folks, and we had full carte blanche funding to turn a 100-acre farm an hour west of Washington, D.C. into a state of the art outdoor education facility that was part, what I do, primitive skills and ancestral skills, but also with 36 different representations of alternative permaculture and things like that. And, then issues there, led me out here. My friend and mentor, business mentor, said, why don't you come out here and work for me? You don't have to deal with any of that crap. You can just do whatever you want. And it was the best job ever. I would wake up on Monday morning, there'd be a roster in my email inbox that had 2 weekend days of, full classes, or it'd be a full week, overnight. I'd spend all week preparing for class, teach class, clean up, rinse, lather, repeat. And it was beautiful because I spent, my time doing my craft. And I got to, always have my camera along with me. I couldn't tell you the last time I took a photo that wasn't for a program I'm developing or something to do with class. It's when I was in California. Um, yeah. So reason is I don't want anybody who is into nature in any way, shape, or form to be barred from the information that I have floating around in my meat computer. Because you already know it. I just help you to remember. And I, like I said, now more than ever, we need educated caretakers. With this craze in survival based TV shows, there is so much misinformation out there that there are people who have enough money, and they're bored with their day job, and they open up a school after watching a couple seasons of a show and sleeping around a campfire with a blanket, and all of a sudden they're a wilderness survival expert, and they're killing people. And so that's the other reason I want to make sure the right information is out there. Um, Another big reason is I I dislike talking about money. Money is my biggest fear in this world. Money is the bane of my existence. I have in this my digital brain so many ideas for things that if I had the ability to implement financially would change the world forever. And that's why it was so upsetting for squirreling away for 20 years to have it disappear overnight and just fighting like a dog ever since. And luckily I love what I do because right before I left to go to California, I was actually offered a job photographing machine parts 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, 2 weeks of vacation a year, 401k, $110,000 a year. But I'd get the lovely fun of an hour commute each way. And I looked at it and I looked at my bank account and I was like, no, I'd rather be dead. That's why I laugh that people what another way people have attacked me is by weaponizing my past that I'm very open about. The fact that I did have an opiate addiction almost 30 years ago now, and that a good friend plugging me back into nature is what saved me. You know, not only am I the president, but I'm also a client. Uh, to have that weaponized against me uh, is hurtful and ridiculous. The other thing too is with as far as the pay as you will. Um, I'm basically going to be offering. It'll vary at times depending on the time of year. Anywhere from 4 to 6 programs running at once. I talked about how I'm still waiting to talk to the German folks, but I'm just going to do it anyway when I finish working on the page. Uh, but yeah, so each class will have a morning CET time zone session and an afternoon, and it'll be the same class. In fact, you can go on to my website now and go to the classes page, and the first three I have are up. The two events that I do, the one that is every Friday night at 5 p.m. on my website. Oh, I am going to pre-apologize because I'm about to be make some schedule changes on my computer. And if you happen to be involved in any of the programs that
I have to make the changes around. You are going to get a lot of emails, and I'm trying to find a way to prevent it from happening. So I apologize, but it's for the better. Trust me. Um, Acuity scheduling saved my life because when I first started using it and didn't have to worry about my number dyslexia and double booking myself, I, it, the first week I had it, it saved me 20 hours of work. So, and with all the setbacks, I'm just now really learning how to utilize it. So that's why you've seen my website grow and change. And being that I don't want to take up too much of your Saturday, I'm just going to, as I mentioned, tomorrow, if not tomorrow, the day after, if you're signed up for my mailing list, you will get an email with my latest blog post that talks about some of what I talked about today. Um, but yeah, the process is super simple. You go on, there'll be it's called classes. Click on it, you peruse my list. All the dates will be listed. I am going to teach the American version. I think I have, yeah, 5 p.m. Uh, to 7. I'm thinking about lowering it 4 to 6, but it's so hard to pick a time. Um, But the one thing I can tell you for sure, because I know it works, is the one for the Central European time zone will be from 10 a.m. Pacific to noon Pacific. Let's see here. Yeah. So I need to ask a favor from all of you. You know, Um, you've heard about my issues with social media. My account got hacked long before, not long, a couple months before my life fell apart, and within a week, I lost. I had $8,000 go missing from my personal account, my business account, and my PayPal. I did all the necessary things. Of course, the respective banking companies gave me my money back. I, changed my password, appealed to Facebook. I had had that account since 2007. And then 30 days after June 21st, so uh, they just deleted my page. I had 8,000 something contacts from all my years of teaching. I had photos on there of friends of mine who've passed away, and that's the only photos I had. And they never gave me a chance to dispute anything. Um, in fact, I spent so much time trying to get my rights restored, to get my account back. It's ridiculous. I even got to a point where they sent me a letter in the mail with a 6-digit code, like when you log into PayPal, that I had to put in within a certain amount of time to get my account back. So not only 3 years later or whatever, have old account is gone. I've rebuilt. I've got a personal page. I've got Trackolites. I now have a Trackolites group, um, Instagram, all that stuff. But I am in this social media limbo where my Instagram followers have never gotten above 3,900. It like cuts off at this magic level for some reason. And it's disgusting that you have to pay money to reach an actual human being at one of the largest corporations in the world. There's a reason why I like Apple products, because I know within 5 minutes I can call them and be on the phone with an actual human being. Um, yeah, the damage of losing that Facebook account, both mentally losing photos and things, but the starting a new business, starting my school up again, everybody. So yeah, so and then of course, as soon as I start my new Facebook page, it's instantly banned from advertising, which I haven't been able to get them to lift because my name is what it is. And they made me put my name as Thomas Hawley Brown III. For those of you, last night when I brought up the meaning of my middle name, Hawk in Scotland is a hill. No, so hockey is people, the hills, Highlanders. So I hate the fact that my personal page or my professional page, it has my full like birth name on it. Not that I'm embarrassed of it. I don't go around introducing myself as Thomas Hockey Brown the Third, and I can't change it, which is ridiculous. But yeah. So yeah, the classes that are up there now are just a very small sampling. There's going to be track. I'm doing building a how to take pictures of tracks class. I'm gonna have a bunch more classes on awareness. I'm rapidly increasing the number of skills I can teach as I progress into the online learning sphere. And now, thanks to one of my dear friends uh, and corporate sponsors, I have Starlink that I can put on the roof of whatever vehicle I have. So I can literally have the highest speed internet in the middle of nowhere. But wait, it gets even better. And here's how I am going to change the face of online nature education and how I am going to use high technology to lead people back to nature. Is my same friend and corporate sponsor, uh, DJI, company known for making drones and iPhone gimbals, just came out with a new drone that is a basically a flying webcam. So no longer do I have to sit my ass in a chair and teach a class. We could be tracking grizzly bears along a lake bed, the shore of a lake in Montana, 40 miles from the nearest town. The drone would be right over my left shoulder, as you would be if you were tracking with me. I'd be down. You'll be able to clearly hear whatever I say. I'll be able to hear you. Um, I'm looking to take this to the next level and fulfill the words my father told to me that I would reach more people than he could have ever dreamed. I miss my father so much. I I haven't even had a chance to grieve my mother's loss yet. That was 4 years ago. You know, I feel him standing behind me right now. And we always talk about living in the present, being in the now. I used to have so many things that I could do to get into that space where I'm not worried about anything. You know, just that space of clear mindedness where you forget about bills and this, that, and the other thing. I have had every one of them. I've either given them away, had them stolen from me, or convincingly given away. The only thing I have left that brings me like sheer joy and allows me to be in the now is teaching. So I'm going to teach. And I can't value my time. I mean, I'm I was joking with David earlier. I said, I'm actually going to try to convince my buddy who's so graciously letting me stay here for free and feeding me um, as I rebuild again. Um, film a day in the life of T3. And I'm not kidding you when it's insane. I don't take days off. I wake up, I work, go to bed around anywhere from 11 to 2 a.m. trying to rebuild now that I finally just 2 weeks ago got my stuff back from California. And that's why I've been charging to like release the schedule again and then announce this pay what you will model. Yeah, so basically to wrap this up, and this will be included in uh, the actual written blog post. So you classes page, say, I want to take the all in one. You click on it, you read the description, you click the button there, that will take you to the scheduling page. Now, somewhere near the bottom of the screen, there will be a button to book yourself. And then next to it, there will be a box, essentially allowing to pay what you will. So no matter you can leave it blank. You can put $1 million in there. Anyone, please? I promise I'll do a lot of good with $1 million. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I would get my dream van and I would probably end up giving the rest of it away. But no matter what, you don't have to put anything in there if you can't afford it. I don't want what's in my head, especially combined with the knowledge my father left me in this giant pile of memorabilia I have, which, another project I'm working on is a whole nother website separate from mine that is a digital living history of my father's legacy that will have everything from photos and old audio recordings of him in 1977. And, and this is something I meant to talk to David about earlier, but, all the way up through stuff to the modern day. And it's going to be a website that is available to anyone for free. The documentary I'm making um, will be up there as well. In 2009, I left the tracker school to learn the skills that my father didn't have. And that's not saying it has nothing to do with teaching or the skills itself. More around emotions and communication. And I've done a lot of self work to get to this point in space and time where I'm an adult man that is capable of using a full range of emotions, recognizing them in others, and being able to be a good friend and caretaker and helper. And, uh, you know, I'm not afraid to share my mistakes and my successes. I'm not afraid to go for a walk in the woods with somebody for fear if I step on a stick and break it that they will judge me for it. And I'm referencing a journal entry of my father's I had from 1980 something, where he was so afraid because his publishers had built him up into this, Indiana Jones cross with the Wolverine character, when all he wanted to do was have fun and be in the woods. And when I speak of the pure vision, a lot of people ask me, well, what is a pure vision? So I have a very unique perspective on the tracker school. I was born there. I lived there until I was 12, and then I started working there when I was I don't know, 25 years ago, 26 years ago. So I remember the days when tracker school classes were like one big just community hangout. Of course, there was lecture and workshop, but my dad was actually part of the class instead of just, roll in, teach, and then roll out. Um, and that's what he wanted me to spread. One of the most the unspoken lessons about my father's school is the community. We wouldn't be here right now. You wouldn't be listening to this if your ancestors didn't work together, didn't have things like division of labor. And now more than ever, we need to work together to help people, truly help them become the best they can be. And I make the same promise to you that my dad makes or said to every one of his classes. There will be no retirement for me. I will teach if I have to do it with a cardboard sandwich sign, living out of some plastic bags under a bridge that says "Look up" or "Wide angle vision" or something catchy like that. Um, I literally am designed to do nothing else. In fact, I'm 46 years old, and I think, you know, when your father entrusts, 60 adults that paid at the time, I think the standard was 750 bucks for a 3 hour sign tracking lecture and workshop that I got to lead the class on. And I remember this day so well. I can relive it. I was so proud because I had taught with him before that, but never had he turned an entire class over to me. So I've been doing this a long time. I have learned skills other than the skills that I learned. Well, no, that's not true. I look at my time as first low on the pole instructor, eventually leaving as head instructor, director, and medical officer of my father's school in 2009 as, the first part. Uh, then the convening years were, building up. And then, ironically, previous to the worst 3 years of my life, I had the best decade of my life. And those of us who are conscious, awake individuals know that in order to be at our best, the universe can and will test us um, fairly often, some more than others. But like this test is going on over 1,000 days now, and I think universe, I've kind of done a pretty good job. I'm not always the best, but I'm getting better every day. So, yeah. So, another favor I ask of anybody watching, if you notice any bugs in my website, any errors, send me an email. There's contact me button. All right, and let me know so I can fix them because it really is only me. And like if you saw this sheer amount of stuff that is on the screens in front of me, and in this that I'm trying to do, I'm gonna go from here to go run an errand to come back to film the third part of the 5-part stalking and movement lesson on my YouTube channel. Oh, and then I'm going to show you guys a really cool, I found the best primitive workout tool ever the other day when visiting a friend. Lastly, I will say thank you. I have gratitude for all of you for anybody, even if only ever one person ever shows up to classes, I'll gladly run a class for one person. Um, your messages have what's kept me going, and your belief in me. Those of you, if you're listening, you know who you're talking about. But the only other thing I can tell you is no matter what rumor you may have heard about me, I'm back on drugs. I don't even drink caffeine anymore. Oh, wait, I am on drugs. I take oregano oil and CBD for my Lyme's disease that I've had for 40 years that is slowly destroying my heart. um, yeah. So, thank you all so much. And this is just the start of many more things to come. I am going to become the Kim Kardashian of nature. Oh God, David, you need to tell me how to scrub that out of here if I can before this post the recording. But yeah, so test the system. There's 3 classes up right now. Um, run through. Let me know if you notice any bugs. Like I said, you don't have to pay anything. You can pay $1, whatever. Every bit helps. um, and just to help me test it out. I need to test it out on phones and Windows computers because I am not going to send out a newsletter to my many hundreds of people's list until I know that everything is working as I hope it should. So, well, look at that. 1 hour, 7 minutes. Well, I'm going to say goodbye for now because there's still some sun shining outside and I need some. And I've got things to do that are going to help you become the best human being you can be that I need to work on. Because remember, in the end, I don't do any of it. Do you think I want to do this for me? I already know this shit. I'm doing all of this for you. And I always have. And I always will. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, love those that are close to you. Make that choice every morning to be aware, to see through grandfather's eyes, to see through my father's eyes. Don't ever judge anything by its cover because everything has so many layers and facets. When talking with people, truly try and see and feel what that person is feeling because it may seem like whatever they're going through is silly and trivial. To them, it is very real. And you need to remember that not all of us process things in the same way. So, I love you all. You buoy my life. Stay human. Pick up trash. Smile at people. And most important thing of all is hold doors for people, please. I don't know why, but here in Oregon, people don't hold doors for each other. Peace and love. Blessings to you all.